This is Andy Gutierrez from StarWars.com, and you are listening to Coffee with Kenobi with Dan Z. This is the podcast you're looking for.
This is Ashley Eckstein, Ahsoka Tano from Star Wars The Clone Wars and Star Wars Rebels, and you're listening to Coffee with Kenobi with Dan Z.
Hello, my friends, and welcome to another special episode of Coffee with Kenobi. This is your spoiler-free place for Star Wars community and conversation. I'm your host, Dan Zaire. You can support Coffee with Kenobi by following the show on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, and TikTok, and subscribing to the YouTube channel. Help spread the word by tweeting that you're listening, share it on Facebook, or invite your friends and family to tune in and share a cup of coffee with us. Coffee with Kenobi is a proud member of the Spreaker Prime program. Before we get to this incredible show, I want to thank our official travel partner of Coffee with Kenobi, MEI and Mouse Fan Travel. If you're interested in a no-cost, no-obligation quote for your next vacation, check out coffeewithkenobi.com/mousefantravel and let them know Coffee with Kenobi and Dan Zaire sent you. Thank you also to members of the CWK Alliance. Find out how you can join the Alliance for as little as $1 a month and get access to exclusive podcasts, videos, and much more at coffeewithkenobi.com/CWK Alliance. Just a couple of days ago, we had Ewan McGregor himself, Obi-Wan Kenobi, on, alongside Obi-Wan Kenobi director Deborah Chow and Moses Ingram, the new Inquisitor of the Star Wars universe. Now, there was one person missing. You may have been thinking it when you heard the show. Obi-Wan Kenobi was missing someone on the last show, Hayden Christensen. And now, my friends, Hayden Christensen is going to be a guest on Coffee with Kenobi on this incredibly special episode. I got to interview him alongside the Skytalkers Podcast and Fangirl Blog with Tricia Barr. I was able to ask questions for James Burns because he was actually flying from his home to California for Star Wars Celebration, so he was kind enough to ask me to ask his questions. So you're going to hear me twice on the show. First, I'm going to ask questions for me and Coffee with Kenobi, and then when I go around again, it will be the questions for James that he asks on behalf of Jedi News, and of course, Charlotte and Caitlin from Skytalkers Podcast, and as I mentioned, our friend Tricia Barr. So pull up a chair, grab your favorite coffee mug, and let's listen to Anakin Skywalker himself, Hayden Christensen, on Coffee with Kenobi.
This is where the fun begins.
Well, Hayden, pleasure to meet you, good sir.
Nice to see you all.
It's great to have you. You're working episode 2 and 3 to find Anakin and the Skywalkers for generations of fans. And now you're able to add more nuance and complexity with his other self, Darth Vader. What's important to you about portraying Vader, and what challenges were present to you as you're under that mask?
Yeah, I mean, just what a cool opportunity to get to come back and sort of continue with this character. I guess sort of the overriding thought for me when playing Vader is that he is Anakin Skywalker. And so all of that inner conflict and everything that I put into that performance, has to sort of follow through into this as well. Obviously we're at a different point with this character. He's at a different place in his life. But he's very much trying to reconcile his past, and a lot of that is sort of where my focus was.
Hi, I'm Charlotte Erriry from Skytalkers, and first I wanted to say, Hayden, your performance as Anakin Skywalker made me a fan for life. So thank you so much for that.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
I wanted to know, do you view Anakin and Vader as two different characters, and how did you take your interpretation of that character into your performance in Obi-Wan Kenobi?
Yeah, no, I mean, I've always seen Darth Vader as Anakin Skywalker. He's just experienced a lot of change. He's had this sort of radical ideological shift, and suffered some very severe battle wounds. But the man behind the mask is Anakin. But there's also this really interesting struggle of self-identity that is inherent in this character, and that I find very compelling as well. And so in this we get to explore a little bit of that, and Vader is trying to kill that part of himself, and so that is his pursuit of Obi-Wan. Him wanting to kill Obi-Wan is him trying to deal with that, you know.
I don't have the beautiful British accent that James does, but I'll just talk like
that's all right. We forgive you.
Thank you. Well, it's been 20 years since Attack of the Clones, and appreciation for the film seems to get better year after year. Why do you think that is?
Yeah, I don't know that I can really answer that one, but it's been really nice to sort of see how the films have continued to sort of have like staying power, and having new sort of generations of fans, you know, now grow up with the prequels, has been really meaningful for me. You know, certainly it was a bit of a challenge when those films came out, and you know a lot of critics were very critical. But my experience with the fans has always been really positive, you know, and I've gotten to sort of go to some fan conventions now, and it means a lot to me to get to, you know, meet people and have them sort of share what those films mean to them, and what this character means to them. And yeah, it's been, you know, really nice.
Tricia Barr from Fangirls Going Rogue podcast. Welcome back to Star Wars, Hayden.
Thank you.
For all of us, the Clone Wars has been an important part of our relationship with Star Wars, and we know that you've watched some. So how did that inform your performance?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how specifically it informed my performance, but I just tried to sort of educate myself as much as possible in coming back to this role. And, you know, I really enjoyed the work that they did on that series. And they did a lot with this character, you know. I think sort of Dave Filoni understands this character, you know, as well, or maybe even better than I do. And so, you know, subconsciously how that sort of informed things, I can't say, but I'm glad I got to watch them, and I'm a fan of them now too.
So let's look at the lightsaber aspect of this. How has the technology and choreography changed between filming episode 3 and Obi-Wan Kenobi? And I'm totally not looking for spoilers. So even when you watched your buddy Ewan fight and Moses train as well.
Yeah, well, the lightsabers have come a long way too. I mean, sort of all the technology has just continued to progress. You know, when we were doing the prequels, they were just, you know, metal rods that they would wrap with colored tape, and then they would light them up, you know, with digital effects afterwards. And you know, when we were working with those, after every fight or every take, the lightsabers would be all warped and disfigured, and they'd have to change them out for a new one. And, you know, we'd go through like dozens and dozens of them. And now on this show, the lightsabers are made of a different material, and that they hold up much better. And they also light up too, which is, yeah, pretty neat. And you know, having that sort of light interaction just sort of adds to the whole thing, you know?
Hi, Hayden. I'm Caitlin, the other half of Skytalkers Podcast.
Hi, Caitlin.
Hi. My question kind of also talks about the technology. The prequel trilogy pioneered a new type of filmmaking, but was certainly not without its challenges. How does it feel to step onto a set like The Volume and realize that everything you did in the prequel trilogy was ultimately leading to this kind of filmmaking experience?
Yeah, I mean, great question. I you know, when we were doing the prequels, one, it was all very new for me. You know, I was 19 at the time, and I didn't really have much experience to sort of compare it to. And I had spent a lot of time sort of studying theater. And so for me, I always kind of just likened it to being on stage, where it required a lot of your imagination. And you know, I really enjoyed getting to watch the films afterwards, because there was that sort of fresh experience, even for the actors, of just being like, wow, that's what that, actually ended up looking like. Now with the technology that they employ with the stagecraft volumes, it's a huge step forward. As an actor, having your environment there to react to and respond to, and it just makes the whole experience that much more visceral. And as a fan of Star Wars, stepping into the volume and seeing it all there for you, it's pretty awesome.
And now my next question on behalf of James Burns and Jedi News. Obviously, in Revenge of the Sith, you got to be the iconic Darth Vader for a brief amount of screen time. But what is it like now coming back to that role after almost 20 years? Yeah, I mean, it's been really, really meaningful for me to get to come back and explore the character at this point in the timeline. When I was doing the prequels, all my time was spent with Anakin Skywalker. Obviously, he gets knighted Darth Vader, and there's a noticeable sort of shift in his perspective and demeanor. But of course, when the suit comes on, that really sort of changes the way we perceive him. Getting to come back and put the costume back on again was just a very special thing for me. And it was a very emotional experience as well. Very sort of cathartic too. There was a definite kind of release there, because this is a character that has stayed with me over the years, and getting to play him again was pretty huge.
We understand that Deborah Chow, your director, was the person who convinced you to come back and do this. Can you tell us about working with her?
Yeah, well, it didn't really take much convincing. I should say that. But yeah, the first time I met Deborah, we kind of instantly hit it off. She's, an extremely impressive person. And just listening to her talk about Star Wars and about these characters, it was really clear to me that she got it, and that everyone was in good hands with her. And I was really sort of just looking forward to following her lead, Of course, I think, everyone working on a Star Wars project sort of feels a great responsibility to George Lucas. And that was something that, we also spoke about. But, this is her story. And I think she's done something really special here. Your performance in episode 2 and 3 are, to me, fantastic. I love the anger, the rage you're able to tap into. You really made us feel this character. And it's something that stayed with all of us for generations. You said you were 19 when you filmed the prequel. So how have you changed as an actor from the prequel trilogy to everything you've done through now? And how did that enhance your performance for Obi-Wan? Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's hard to sort of be that kind of self-observant in a way. But certainly sort of, the older we get, sort of the more we have to bring to our work, the more kind of life experience that we have, the more we can apply that, to whatever the kind of the task is. And, in my case, it's acting. It's been sort of just an interesting exercise in my craft in that respect. Coming back to a character that I played so long ago, now at this time in my life, I can only sort of assume that it helps, but we'll see.
I wanted to ask you what Star Wars means to you.
Yeah, I mean, it means so much. My experience working on the prequels was one of the most formative experiences for me. It was such a great honor to get to play this character and work with the people that I did. But I'm also, a fan like you guys, and what these stories mean to me as a fan are huge. I think the sort of the messaging and the themes that are contained in them are really important. And especially as I get older and now as a father, I think these stories are a means for us to kind of learn about ourselves and about life, and just the kind of the pure escapism that they offer too. Is incredibly valuable, and nothing else kind of excites the imagination the way that Star Wars does.
James would like to know if you had any residual muscle memory in your lightsaber prowess.
I hope so. There was, a little bit of rust I had to brush off, but it is kind of like riding a bike. We trained so hard when we were doing the prequels, and I got to spend so much time with Nick Gillard, and he was, amazing at what he did, and his contribution to Star Wars is huge. That was part of, what was most fun for me was going in for lightsaber training, and getting to spend the time with Nick and with Ewan and some of the other people. That was some of my favorite stuff. And so picking up a lightsaber again and, kind of giving it the old Anakin twirl, it kind of came back pretty easy.
Hayden, why do you think Darth Vader, Anakin Skywalker are such an iconic character in mythology?
Yeah, well, I think one, just the design of the character is so successful, and there are, I think a few people that contributed to that, and the breathing and James Earl Jones's voice, it just really works. I think the sort of the mythology of this character also really sort of resonates with people. When I was first auditioning for Star Wars to play this character, of course I was really excited about the possibility of getting to play in Star Wars. But I was also just really sort of taken with the character arc, and the notion that we were going to explore how someone goes from good to bad. And I think there's a lot to kind of learn there. And for me, it really sort of allows you to think about concepts of kind of destiny and free will, and the way that we can perhaps empathize with Anakin's descent, I think also says a lot. The need for strong parental figures, sort of the role of luck in our life, or lack thereof. And also the need to make good decisions, and how decisions can radically influence, the course of things. And obviously also, it's a redemption story too. And the notion that we can all kind of find redemption at the end, sort of regardless of what has come before.
Acting as Anakin Skywalker is dramatically different from Darth Vader because of one major reason, at least I would think, and that would be that helmet, that glorious mask. How do you emote with that mask on and channel your inner Darth Vader without being able to actually say anything? I mean, I would assume you just hum the Imperial March. It's probably a little bit more complicated than that.
Definitely the Imperial March kind of just plays in your head the whole time. Even when I was playing Anakin, that was just kind of playing in my head the whole time. But yeah, putting the costume on, putting the Darth Vader costume on, and putting that mask on really imparts a feeling. And there's a long kind of history in my profession of working with masks, and the Darth Vader mask is such a powerful one. So it's easy to emote. You may not actually perceive any of that, and maybe it's all just for me, but that's okay. But just kind of his mannerisms and the way he moves, that's all sort of defined before my involvement, and so there's a continuity there that we needed to adhere to, and that was really important to everybody. But there was a Vader movement specialist on set that I got to work with to sort of just make sure that everything was ringing true to Vader, and it's always kind of been a collective effort, this character, and it's been a great honor to get to sort of be one of many who have contributed to him.
Hayden, I wanted to talk a little bit more about Vader during this time period. What is his state of mind?
What's his state of mind? It's not very good. He's in a very dark place. And he's had sort of 10 years to just kind of, live in this very sort of imprisoned life. And that was something that Deborah and I spoke a lot about, was wanting to convey this feeling of power, obviously, but also imprisonment. Vader, or Anakin rather, is kind of trapped in a lot of ways. I think it's interesting to sort of theorize, sort of what degree of Anakin is in there, and when those sort of moments might present themselves. I like the idea of sort of Vader in his meditation chamber. It's kind of all the things that you can maybe start to think about. But yeah, he's very much consumed by very negative emotions, and that's all what sort of fuels his dark side abilities, and so because of that, he's very powerful in this series. And we're at a point in the timeline chronologically that is kind of the closest to Anakin in his prime, and I think that's sort of an interesting place to start from.
Thank you, Hayden.
All right, so nice speaking with you all. Really enjoyed this.
Listening to Coffee with Kenobi, you are, with Dan Z, the podcast you're looking for. This is yes.
There you have it, my friends. Hayden Christensen on Coffee with Kenobi. What an incredibly cool guy. Honestly, I've always loved him. I've always loved him in episodes 2 and 3. I've loved the passion and his amazing talents with a lightsaber, and I feel like he conveyed some powerful emotions there. The Clone Wars certainly fleshed them out even more so, but Hayden's always been a great guy, and honestly, after talking to him and chatting with him like that, he's very cool, very insightful, very down-to-earth, and I have even more respect for him than I already had, and that's saying something because I think the guy is a real champ. I want to thank all of you for joining us on Coffee with Kenobi, both with this interview as well as with Ewan McGregor, Deborah Chow, and Moses Ingram. So much more to come this week with Star Wars Celebration, interviews, commentary, discussions of the first 2 episodes of Obi-Wan Kenobi, the Star Wars Celebration podcast stage, my Mythology panel, and so much more. Hope as you are listening to this, you're having a safe trip or travels to Celebration Anaheim. And if you're not able to join us at Celebration, don't worry. We'll bring you lots of coverage on social media, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, and of course, Facebook, and lots of podcasts coming from Coffee with Kenobi. Talk to you very, very soon, friends. May the Force be with you. And remember, this is the podcast you're looking for.
This podcast is not endorsed by the Walt Disney Company or Lucasfilm Limited. It is intended for entertainment and informational purposes only. The official Star Wars website can be found at www.starwars.com. Star Wars, all names, sounds, and any other Star Wars related items are registered trademarks and or copyrights of Disney and their respective trademark and copyright holders. All original content of this podcast is the intellectual property of Coffee with Kenobi unless otherwise indicated.
This is the podcast you're looking for.